whether you're running a Turo business or you have a private car rental business, this message is for you. So I wanted to talk about one of the biggest factors or the things that affect your income as a car rental owner that nobody really talks about. And I'm not talking about, those one-off, oh, my car got into a collision or this guest, run off with my car. Like, those are just unique situations, okay? And doesn't happen to everybody. But what I'm talking about here happens to each and every single host. And it's not talked about enough, okay? So suppose you rent out your car and, your car goes on a trip and your car comes back, the host receives, let's say $200, okay? In your mind, you're thinking, I made $200 on this trip, this is cool and all. But what you don't really factor in is depreciation. Depreciation is a silent killer, okay? So even though you made $200 on your trip, that distance that the renter took your car has a big impact on your true profit, how much you're actually making. So a lot of hosts that you see online, when they report their income, they don't really factor in their own time, okay? Because your time is valuable. They don't factor in the preparation process. So this is whether you're, cleaning your car. Some people, you take your car through a car wash, that also costs money. They don't factor in the cost of refueling your car. Maybe if you're doing a delivery, the cost of going to these places and delivering these cars, okay? A lot of people, they only see the profits, but they don't subtract all of these costs from their profits to see the true value. And once you start seeing the true value of your trips, you start questioning yourself whether some of your trips are even worth it. Okay. So to give you a personal story, recently, one of my cars had an issue. I took it to a mechanic, and the amounts the mechanic quoted me, it was literally about half of the price that I paid for the car. So it got me wondering, is this car even worth, fixing? Or should I just sell it as is to someone who would want it? And I went to look at, the current market value for the car. And mind you, I only purchased this car a few months ago. So the value shouldn't be that much lower than the purchase price, the original purchase price. But one thing I didn't factor in is the cost of the mileage that was put on the car by my renters. For every single kilometer or mile that your renter drives, the value of your car is going down little by little, okay? And when you accumulate all of this and it comes time for you to go sell your car, and then you calculate the value and it tells you, well, your car is worth much less than you originally thought, it really opens your eyes to whether some of these trips that you are accepting are even worth it. So me being a software developer, entrepreneur mindset, I decided, why not develop something that really opens other people's eyes to how much some of these trips that they're accepting is costing them, okay? Because I did a calculation for one of my trips, factoring in the depreciation and the cost of preparation and everything. And I realized that it was actually a negative profit. And so if my car was just sitting there and not doing anything, I would have had more money than it me actually renting out the car, which is ridiculous to me. Okay. And when I came to that realization, I figured that, and I'm talking about Turo here, okay? On Turo, there is this race to the bottom right now where a lot of hosts are trying to, get their car rented out more often. So in turn, they start to reduce their prices little by little just to attract more guests to their bookings. And by reducing their prices, they're not factoring in, all of this depreciation and these hidden costs. And if they actually saw the true profit of some of these trips, they'll think twice before they reduce their prices. Okay, so hopefully this thing that I'm developing would open people's eyes, especially these hosts that are setting your prices at ridiculously low prices, will open your eyes to realize that some of these trips that they're taking is actually taking money from them instead of putting money in your pockets. Okay, so that is the whole idea of this software that I'm looking to develop. And I figured that I might as well, bring you along, record my process of building the software. And if you have any feedback, feel free to leave something in the comments so that, it will be more of a collaboration between me and you. So that's what I'm actually developing brings value, okay? Because nobody wants to work on something that, is valuable only to themselves, okay? We want to build something that, brings a lot of value to others. So that is the whole point of this series I'm going to start. I think the first thing that I'm going to try to decide is the name of this software that I'm going to build, and whether it's going to be a mobile app or a web app. These are some of the things that I want your feedback on. All right, so let's start building. All right, guys, so I started building and I've hit my first roadblock, okay? And this is basically trying to decide how these users are going to use the app, whether it's going to be on their phone or whether it's going to be on the Turo web dashboard like this. Right now, the biggest limitation is how we're going to get the data from Turo to the software, okay? And on mobile, you can't just, use one app to read another app. So right now, the most likely scenario that I'm thinking of is doing some type of a browser extension. Okay, so when you go onto the Turo website and you're scrolling through your past reservations that you've made, you should see some type of pop-up or something that shows for each trip not just the gross profit but also the true profit, and it gives you different insights on what the depreciation was or your preparation costs, all of those things. And to calculate depreciation, essentially the biggest factors of depreciation is the year of the car, the usage of the car, like how much the car has been driven, the mileage, and also the type of the car. Okay, if it's a luxury car, it depreciates much faster than just like an economy car. Okay, there are also several other factors, but those are probably the biggest. Okay, so I'll focus on that. And what I'm going to try to do is collect that data from the trip, because the trip also has the car name, the car year, and all of that stuff. And then try to process that and create some type of calculation that will let me know the amount of depreciation that was done per trip. And then once I get that value, I can also have the user manually enter the amounts that they spent on car wash or your free delivery or whatever it could be. Okay, I'll just classify all of that as preparation costs because I don't want it to be an overly complex app. Technically, if I want to get more specific values, I'll also collect the specific mileage on the car. But realistically, that won't be necessary, especially for our first version here. Okay. So to summarize, right now, the approach is going to be making it a browser extension, and that browser extension is going to essentially read the information on your reservation page and then convert that or collect that information that I just mentioned, the data points, and then produce a true profit. Speaking of true profit, I'm thinking of making the name True Profit. What do you guys think? Lumen True Profits calculator. If you guys have any better name, let me know. But for now, I'm just going to call it Lumen, the True Profit calculator. All right, so version 1 of the browser extension is finally completed. This will be a typical reservation history page. So if I was to pick any one of these bookings, let's just pick this one as an example. As you can see, we now have our button here that shows up. So this shows up for every single trip that we have. And for example, if I click this button over here, it shows me the calculations of the true profit for this trip. Okay. So Turo says the gross profit is 167, but then the true profit is 114 here. Okay. And essentially, I'm just using all of these values which I pulled from the page, which includes the amounts that Turo is giving, the distance driven, the vehicle type, and also I made it so that the user can enter their preparation costs. So let's say, for example, if I take it to a car wash and it costs me $12, you'll see that the true profit here updates. And basically the depreciation for this car, the specific car and the year or whatever, was calculated to be about 0.13 per kilometer. Okay, and based on that, we provided these calculations. And here at the bottom, we can see how much that trip actually cost us. Okay, so this was $58 of hidden costs that we haven't factored into our profit. So yeah, I think this is the bare bones of what we're trying to do, the main functionality. And let's say I go back to another trip. Just pick a random trip here. This is a different car, so it will probably have a different depreciation calculation. So here, if I click it, Turo says we made $75, but we only made about 52. And notice that here we don't need to constantly set a new value for preparation costs. So for example, if my car wash is always $12, I don't need to input this every single time. It will just use the last value that I entered. Yeah, so this is pretty cool so far. Let's see if I can find a trip that was not worth it at all. Let me go all the way back to when I used to do just one-day trips. Let me see. Yeah, I think this is my worst trip by far. Yeah, this is my very first trip. So as you can see, I heavily discounted the price. So the price for this trip was only $41. I think I was trying to get some reviews just to, boost my profile. So my trips were super cheap, But this person literally used the car for, yeah, only about 24 hours. And they put almost 1,000 kilometers on my car. And if I look at the cost for that depreciation, it was $113, which is ridiculous. So I gave it to them for 41. They depreciated the car by $113. And so that trip was definitely not worth it. It actually cost me money. So hopefully a calculator like this will help us see the true value or the true profit for our trips. If you have any ideas on how I can improve this or some of the features I can add, let me know. The next thing I'm going to try to do is somehow turn this into a mobile app, okay? I'm going to try to make it so that you don't need to open the web browser or use it on a desktop. Let's see how that goes.